Hello again, Year 10. Good to see you. Although actually I can't see you. You can see me though, so that's fine. Um, our title for today is Who Were the Huguenots? Um, Remember, our big sort of inquiry that we're looking at, the last bit of this course, is the big story of migration to Britain since about 1500. Last lesson we were looking at the African and Asian presence in early modern England in the 1500s and the 1600s. And today we're going to be looking at another group of people who migrated to this island in around the same time, the 1500s, the 1600s and the 1700s as well. These people were the Huguenots, and they came from a little bit closer than Africa or Asia. They were from France, which is why the word Huguenot is so horrible to spell. It's got that awful silent T at the end and too many U's. Yeah, it's a difficult word. But the Huguenots, who were they? Basically, they were French Protestants. So if we remember that followers of the Christian religion, who believed that Jesus Christ was the Son of God, they had a big split in the 1500s. Around 1519, that marked the beginning of what we call the Reformation between the Protestants, who wanted to reform the church. They were protesting about it, that's how they got their name, and the Catholics, who thought, no, actually everything's fine, let's keep everything exactly the same way as it always was, let's follow the Pope in Rome. So we know there was a big split, and if you remember when we were learning about piracy under Elizabeth I, the fact that she was a Protestant and King Philip of Spain was a Catholic was a reason for her to pursue that policy of piracy against his empire. Well, that same struggle was going on within France as well. France was mainly a Catholic country, and its kings and queens decided they wanted to follow the Pope and remain Catholic, unlike Elizabeth. But there was a large minority of people within that country who had opted themselves to follow the Protestant religion. And throughout the 1500s, there was conflict, warfare, and a lot of bloodshed caused by this religious difference. And one of the most terrible incidents that happened was in August of the year 1572, on St. Bartholomew's Day. I'm not sure exactly which day in August that is, but it's one of the days in August is St. Bartholomew's Day. And on St. Bartholomew's Day in 1572, thousands of Protestants were mercilessly killed in the centre of Paris on the orders of the Queen of France at that time, Catherine de Medici. Technically, she was a regent. She wasn't actually the Queen. But anyway, that's another story. Protestants were killed in their thousands. It was awful, horrendous. The leader of the Protestants was defenestrated. He was thrown out of a window, that means. And a lot of Protestants in France, unsurprisingly, thought, this isn't safe for us. We don't want to stay here. Our families have been killed. Let's leave. Let's leave France. Adieu. Au revoir. Don't want to be here anymore. So where should they go? Well, where's a Protestant country at that time that's quite close to France? They wanted to go to England. And a lot of people started migrating across the Channel in quite difficult circumstances. You know, we're used to hearing about refugees now trying to cross the Channel, and those people were no different. You know, they were trying to flee bloodshed, they were trying to flee danger in their own countries, they were trying to seek safety on our shores. And in fact, the very word refugee entered the English language at this time because it's a word that comes from French. The word réfugié means somebody who's running away from danger, and that's where we get our refugee, because the first refugees coming here were the Huguenots, wanting to find safety and fellow Protestants to pray with over here. Things kind of calmed down a little bit in the 1590s, but as the fighting died down in France, but then in the 1680s, when King Louis XIV was on the throne in France, it started up again, and another large number of Huguenots started coming over here. Mainly they settled in London, in East London, and there are still many buildings, old French Protestant churches you can go and see in London, or you will be able to at some point in the future. Beautiful buildings, actually, and you can see where they lived and worshipped. So what are your tasks going to be for today? I've given you a reading from a brilliant book called Bloody Foreigners by Robert Winder, which is a story of lots and lots of different people who have migrated to this country over the years and have contributed different things. I've given you a short reading from that book about some Huguenots, one guy in particular, a guy called Isaac Minet, who came over from France. I want you to read his story, read the other stories that are on that sheet and have a look at them and answer the questions around the outside. Then I want you to try and make some mind maps. It explains all this on the sheet. One mind map, which is what were the reasons why the Huguenot people left France, obviously being killed in the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre. So what were the reasons they left? Religion, war, so on. What were the reasons they wanted to come to England rather than, say, Spain? Again, religion played a part, didn't it? And then the third is, what contribution did the Huguenot people make to English society? So there were certain industries, such as the silk industry, the fashion industry, that many Huguenot people worked in, and in fact they transformed English society in many ways and invented various different things that maybe we still use today. So all that's in the reading for you to find out when you have a look at that. And that's it. Other than, do you remember you started that timeline last lesson, or you should have done, a timeline with those key groups of people on it that I was talking about? Go back to that as a final task where you've got the Huguenots written on there, and just try and add those big factors. What was the big factor causing Huguenot people to come here? What different factors were there? It's religion. Okay, enjoy the work. I'll see you again next week. Cheerio.